Hi everyone, and welcome back to another wrap-up video for a readathon. I have one more after this one. I'm just checking. Yes, one more after this one to film. And then my wrap-ups for August will be done. So, okay. This particular readathon is for Pick-Pong-A-Thon. Of course, with all these readathons, I will put the channel that I saw the announcement video, and this one obviously is based off of a TBR game that the host creates, and I'm blanking on her name, but I know she just had a little baby, and that baby is gosh cute. So for this one, I did random number generator to determine what prompts. So let's go ahead and get into this. I planned on doing just five. I'm like, I know I can get to 5 books. So I'm like, let me see if I can fulfill 5 prompts. So the first one I got a number 9, which turned out to be any book. So I could just read any book I wanted. For this one, I did a movie scrapbook, and that is Spells and Charms, which is part of the Harry Potter world. This one's published by Warner Brothers. And so it's just all about various spells. You have charmed objects, so like Slughorn's Hourglass, you have the Weasley Tent, you have the Marauder's Map, you have things about the Expecto Patronum, and just various things. So it's a movie scrapbook. Movie scrapbooks are just fun. So I gave that 5 stars. It's just really fun. Okay. The second random number I generated was number 41, which turned out to be for the prompt Gifted. So for this one, I went with fulfilled Adulthood is a Myth by Sarah Andersen. This was a gift from Amy from AStar Reads, and this is just a collection of comics that kind of poke fun at real life, I want to say, like expectation versus reality when you have short hair versus long hair, internet comment threads, how graduating feels, how you feel at different ages in your life, 5, 15, 25, 45, 85, what it was like at age 13 versus now, being a woman with your period, what's socially acceptable and unacceptable, being an introvert versus extrovert, signs of a good relationship versus bad relationship, getting drunk, what normal people are like, etc. So just poking fun at being an adult. It was hilarious. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I do know there's a lot more in this series. This is the first book and I want to get all of them. So that is something that I will work on. Thoroughly entertaining. Highly recommend. So it's just a great laugh. Okay, so the next number I generated was number 39, and that was to read a book with a low expectation, or to read a book that you have a low expectation for. For this one, I fit in a library book. I ended up giving this book 3 stars, and it is Weird-O-Pedia by Alex Palmer. Sometimes nonfiction can be a hit or miss for me. And so that's why I went in with a low expectation. It's like, it's a nonfiction book. I don't know if I'm going to like it. Turned out to be kind of entertaining, hence the 3-star, but not any more than that because this particular one was published like 10 years ago, so some of the statistics and research is outdated. I do think there's newer versions of this, so I think it may have been closer to a 4-star, but with updated and current information, there were some interesting things. There were other things I really didn't care about, so it just kind of landed right in the middle. Definitely better than I expected it would be, but still, so that was nice. When you go in with a low expectation for something, it turns out it's better than you thought it was going to be. That's always good. So, Weird-O-Pedia by Alex Palmer. Okay. The next prompt, I generated number 29, which is to read a YA fantasy. Now this one I read on my phone, on the Kindle app on my phone. I also listened to the audiobook version on Scrapbook, and that is Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. That's the first in the Wayward Children series. I was disappointed. I have read the Newsflash series under Seanan McGuire's pen name, which is Mira Grant, and I love that series. It's zombies, it's sci-fi, it's post-apocalyptic type of a thing. Loved that series. I think my problem with Every Heart a Doorway It didn't really matter that's a short story because there are short stories that I do like. However, I think what I have realized with reading Every Heart a Doorway, which I gave 2 stars, is that I don't like magical realism. It's got to be fantasy. It has to be straight up sci-fi. You know, I think it's the magical realism aspect that I don't like, because I do know one book that I read that was also magical realism. I don't remember the author, but I DNF'd that book. I just don't think magical realism is for me, hence this was a 2-star. It's like I can see the potential, and I think if Every Heart a Doorway was written as a straight up fantasy or straight up sci-fi, I probably would have really liked it. But I think it's that magical realism I don't like, and that's what dragged it down. I found myself bored. I didn't want to pick it up. I didn't really care while I was reading it. I wanted to do other things. My mind was wandering. So, I mean, I can see the hype, and I do admit the writing was good because it is Seanan McGuire, aka Mira Grant, and I do like the writing. But this story just fell way flat for me. Again, I think it's because of the magical realism, and I do tend to naturally avoid that. So I think that's why it ended up being a 2-star for me. But what would be interesting is for me to pick up another book that's tagged as magical realism and test it to see if that actually is the case. But I tend to just steer clear of that. So anyway, moving on. The next number I generated was number 47, and this was supposed to be for the final prompt, which was animal. For this one, I read Creepy Cat. This is a manga. It's a paranormal, gothic, about ghost cats. So anyway, it was really cute. I gave this 5 stars. Highly enjoyed this. I highly recommend this one if you love cats and like graphic novels. Especially if you like paranormal stuff, I think you'll really love this. I also think this would be a great manga for those of you who want to dip your toe into manga, because it's just very simple. The artwork is just, I loved the artwork. And I don't know. I don't really know what else to say to this. It is just so freaking cute. 5 stars, highly recommend. Definite excellent starting point if you want to delve into manga but don't know where to start. This would be a great one to start with. Okay. So as you can tell, wasn't my last prompt. I ended up with a total of 7. So I got 2 where it was like when you end on a certain number, I can't remember. It's like when the number ends in one of these 2 numbers, then you have to add another one, or I got a punishment. And, oh yeah, no, one of them was a punishment. And I think it was just because one of the numbers ended with a certain number, I had to add it on a prompt. So, number 6, I generated number 12. And this was a book I was least excited for. And I think it's because I was leery, because I found this book, it sounded really funny, but then I found out it was a romance. So I was least excited for it. I do like romances when they're clean. I don't like it when they have such sexually explicit stuff. I understand a lot of romance is going to have that. But when I find out it is going to have the sexually, more than likely will have the sexually explicit scenes, I tend to get less excited for it. So that's what I used for this one, which was Moti on the Water. I think if the explicit sex was not in it, it would have been a 4 or a 5 star. But I did give this 0 star because I didn't know how to rate it fairly. If you like the sexually explicit stuff, I think you'll like this because it was very funny. There was a lot of humorous content in it. And this is by Leylah Attar. I did like the writing. I just didn't care for the sex in it. It is not the most sexually graphic that I have seen, but it is spicy. So just keep that in mind. I think Talia Hibbert is up a spice level or 2 compared to this one, but it still is spicy. So, but it was really funny, and it takes place on a cruise ship. And food, if you're doing a readathon where it has a book that talks a lot about food and you like romance, this would be a good one to do because a lot of talk about food. Okay, number 7, I don't remember the number I generated, but this ended up being the last prompt, and it turns out this one was a mood read. So for this one, I just counted Diagon Alley, which is another movie scrapbook, 5 stars, published by Warner Brothers. This is all about the shops. You have Flourish and Bots, you have Gringotts Wizarding Bank, you have this map of Diagon Alley, talks about the Quidditch supply stuff that you can get and things like that. So 5 stars. Movie scrapbooks are just really fun. I am finding them to be kind of comforting, like a cozy read. And especially if it's a movie that you like, it can be very comforting, which Harry Potter. And the behind the scenes stuff and the fact that, you know, how they created certain things and the duplicates and, you know, some of the stuff that the prop people had to do is interesting. So they're just really fun. I just wish there were more out there. I know there's a Sound of Music one that I want to get at some point. I really wish, and I've said this before, and if you've seen my other videos, you know what I'm going to say. I wish the Jurassic Park franchise would do a movie scrapbook series like this. Yeah, I would love that, and I would get those. Anyway, so that's the Pick-Pong-A-Thon wrap-up, what I read for those prompts. I've completed every prompt, so highly successful, had fun. But again, with all the readathons I wanted to try to participate in, everything was just low-key, so I never submitted for points or pages read or anything like that. This was just all on my own time to see if I could complete them. So it was fun. So that's it for the Pick-Pong-A-Thon wrap-up. Let me know if you've participated and what your favorite read and prompt was that you got for this readathon. So chat to me in the comments below. Until next time, stay true to yourself and enjoy a good book, and I'll talk to you later.